You know what the funny thing is too? Joseph Pilates, if you look at any archival videos of him teaching classes,
Hmm.
he taught in Pilates briefs,
Hmm.
just buck naked, but for these tighty whities the whole
Yeah.
class. I'm not doing that anytime soon. Like say who you are, what you do, and what your business is.
Sure. So my name is Elisabeth Magalhaes. I do so many things, but I'll start with, I guess I'm the director of the Canadian Pole Fitness Association. So we have certifications for instructors that want to teach pole and aerial hoop. And then we also run competitions. So they're Canadian competitions, so they're not international. And our biggest one are nationals. It's all, we've been holding it at the Toronto Super Show every year, but of course this year it's not happening. Um, and that I've been a group fitness instructor for almost 29 years now, and personal trainer for less than that, but about 20 years. And then I teach dance and all kinds. I teach like everything, like aerials and all that kind of stuff. And my business, um, well, right now online, I am teaching group fitness classes as well as doing personal training and one-on-ones for dance and pole and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know how to put that into one little compartment.
Mhm. Can you talk about a little bit more about the pole fitness and how that became a passion for you?
Yeah, well, it's many years ago, but I guess it started like I've always been in dance my whole life.
Mhm.
And I mean, I've been doing fitness for so long. Um, and I had a friend who did pole, like had a pole and she taught me a few things. And it was just something that I really found intriguing. There was no lessons at the time or anything, so I got myself one and kind of became self-taught. And it was just something that other people started wanting to learn from me, and it just kind of grew from there. And I think the reason that I really fell in love with it was because there's so many ways you can use the pole. So um, I look at it like you can use it to do very athletic gymnastic type skills on it. You can use it to dance. You can use it for just so many in so many different ways to express yourself
Yes.
that it really appealed to me because with all the things that I did, like, I was really, I did fitness competitions and things like that. But then I also was a dancer, like I danced my whole life. And so it was like I could do all the things that I loved, like in one and keep challenging myself.
Any
Yeah,
success stories from
stretching.
your students?
I mean, I have so many, like, I mean, when I had my studio, because I don't own a studio anymore, but
Mhm.
when I had my studio, I mean, I kind of really had a variety of classes. So when I talk about like success, I it's hard for me to group just like one person and say this would be one thing. But if I have a student who, started off with pole, didn't really have any experience in that area or fitness, and she went on to basically end up competing and like winning, and it was pretty awesome. Like, she really grew a lot in the time that she had committed herself to pole. On
Mhm.
the fitness side, I've seen a lot of my clients come in feeling not very confident in themselves on many levels, and just start to see changes not only in their body but just how they feel about themselves, make connections with other people who feels like the same as them, and you just see them, like you can see their confidence building as time goes on. And I don't know, to me that's success. So I don't know, I
Mhm.
have like a few of those. I don't like to name names because I don't know if they'd want me to specifically say them, but those are like examples of what I would consider like success,
Yeah.
I guess. Hmm.
Well, you're building a community, right? Like that's ultimately
Hmm.
like myself with my Pilates and my passion for getting men into Pilates or getting athletes into Pilates. You start to build a community, and that encompasses people, and they find like that comfort there and that confidence there and all that amazing stuff.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think like I think for a lot of people there's like misconceptions about pole, but the one nice thing about it is that you know, if people really let themselves just feel it, I feel like, especially for women, um, there's not many areas in our lives where we can feel all aspects of ourselves. So, you know, as after school finishes, like you finish college or university or however high you go in your education, you don't really have the same ability to, you know, a lot of people go to clubs and dance and do things that kind of make them feel still alive. And then later on, you know, we start
Yes.
to just
Yeah.
get
No.
into this like cycle, right? Like get up, go to work, come home, make dinner, do the laundry, do homework, go to bed, get up, like, and there's no, and we lose parts of ourselves. So I feel like this was something that really lets women feel good about themselves as like sensual beings as well, because that is like, I think, a very important aspect to um, a woman's mental health as well, like, and also
Yes.
her confidence. Like, I think if a woman
Hmm.
feels confident in that way, it kind of exudes itself into the rest of her life, like whether that's with her personal relationships, with her work relationships, and just confidence going out and doing, because she just feels good about herself as a full woman, you know, not just
Yes.
as a mom or as like as a role as herself. So yeah, that I guess that's something that I really noticed as a side effect of it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, absolutely.
yeah.
Little Vixen says the community in Pole is really fabulous. Elizabeth is a big part of that community, and the creative outlet of pole or aerial sports is amazing.
Hmm.
You're like,
Yeah, I
yep.
mean, it is because like this is what I mean about like, I think we talked earlier about calling it like pole sport or pole fitness. And I know like a lot of people who maybe don't understand what we do feel more comfortable framing it that way.
Hmm.
But I don't fully believe in like making pole be what has to be this sport. I think it can be whatever anybody wants it to be. So like if you prefer the athletic side of it, that's cool. Like that's what you do with it. But if you like the sexy side of pole, there's nothing wrong with that either. And I think everyone should be allowed to
Mm.
express themselves the way they want and use the apparatus how it suits them in that moment, right? Because people have different emotions and feelings, and so being like not pigeonholing something in one way I think is important to do, because you can be all kinds of different people in one. And that's part of why I like it, because I don't think it has to be one thing, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So
So you're not shying away from what it is and trying to water it down so that it's comfortable for people to talk about. There are the sides to it that in the same way that we as people have so many different sides, you want it to be there to meet you where you are.
yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
in our competition with the CPFA, we have exotic pole, we have floor work, but we also have the athletic, like the pros and like amateur. We have all those different divisions. We have a men's division, we have doubles. So we have like we have something for everybody who wants to
Hmm.
participate. So um, not everybody wants to train the extent that like a professional pole dancer wants to, but they still love dance and want to and love the other side of it. So we have different divisions, you know, for to allow for
Yes.
all those people to participate. Hmm.
Hmm. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, silks and
Um, yeah, sorry, that's Sandra. She's
go
tried
ahead. No, I was
silks and
just
hoops.
reading her comment. Yeah,
Yeah, please go ahead.
yeah, it's definitely a challenge, and that's kind of like part of I think where people build their confidence is it's not just from like some people come in and know it's going to be sexy, but then they realize that their confidence is coming from actually achieving skills that they thought they never would. So
Hmm.
like our friend here saying that silks and hoop are hard, it is, and that's what makes people feel so good about themselves when they actually get to do the thing that they've been trying to do for so long, and then they finally do it, and it's like, oh my
Yes.
God, I'm so strong. I'm so, you know what I mean? You feel
Hmm.
accomplished.
That sense of
So yeah,
achievement, yeah, accomplishment for sure.
exactly.
Not to get too deep philosophically, but you said alive. It makes me feel alive. Like, can you say more about that? Like for women to come in and just feel alive.
Yeah, I guess like I guess the way I want to look at it is like if I'm going to talk about just like say my like a dance class where girls would come in and learn like choreography or whatever. It's an opportunity to kind of lose yourself in the music, in your movement, in your body, in time, and not think about the things that kind of just like keep your life on a regular thing. I think when you find that thing, you do it and it makes you feel something, which is like important, I think, in our lives. Like, you know, and that's why people come back because they want to do it. And it just makes them feel good inside. So,
Yeah. There's a saying
mhm.
like all men die, but few men ever really live,
Yeah.
and I think that makes me think of that when you're saying that.
Yeah. You know what? It's interesting when you say that because, you know, like I started in this industry when like there was really no one doing it. There was only a couple of us. And I lived through a lot of like judgment and stigma. And so, and it's still there, like a lot of people. But like, I remember when I opened my first studio, it was inside of a little gym and people would make comments to like the girls coming in saying like, oh, you're going to your stripper class, et cetera, et cetera. And it was like
Hmm.
that people just didn't understand. And there was a lot of judgment. So people I think are like afraid of things they don't understand. And so it's easier for
Absolutely.
them to just kind of call it whatever. And this is where I talk about, you know, calling it pole fitness and pole sport. Like that makes people feel more comfortable about the idea. But I also find it very fascinating that people are so um, have such a problem with women feeling good about themselves sexually or an essential, like it's such a weird thing to me that it's such a hard topic for people to like be okay with, like
Yeah.
you know, like women are only supposed to be a certain way, and if anything comes up that kind of goes against that, it makes people very uncomfortable. So I mean, I don't really know how you what you think about that, but I find it interesting.
No, it is interesting. That's why we're having this conversation because I like we've known each other since like Club Medeville days, right? Like much
Yeah.
like almost 20 years ago now, right? So
Mhm.
I've seen this and I've kind of followed your journey with this, and just even seeing everyone come on and saying she's a trailblazer, she's amazing, she has this great community. That takes bravery. That takes courage to be that person out there leading from the front and taking all those blows for everybody who wants to follow after you.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, definitely, you know, I'm not the only one who's, you know, had to deal with this and women still do at the same time, but I've also learned many, many years ago not to care what people think. Like I just
Yes.
like
Yeah.
my like since you know, because I was a young mom, right? And I was judged pretty strongly like when I was young because I mean, I had my son when I was 16, right? So
Mm,
I'm used to people deciding who I am before knowing me. And so
that's
I learned from a very young age to not care about that at all because I looked at like my saying when I was younger, if you're not paying my bills, I really don't care what you think. Like, and it
yes.
actually pushed me to be better because I was like, okay, you think I'm not going to be this, or you think I'm not going to be, or I'm not going to be able to make it, watch me. And then I went to university and I opened a business and, you know, I did all these things that nobody
Mm,
ever thought I would do, but it's also because I just really feel like for you to live your life, you have to do what you want to do. And
yes.
yeah, and that's how I feel about the women that come to the studios and who express themselves these ways. They're deciding for themselves that want they can be who they want and they can do what they want. And they're and someone decides to do that, there's a huge amount of strength in that, right? And um, I think that allows them to do that in other aspects of their life. So yeah. So your Pilates, you mostly work with men, right? So
No, I
it's
actually mostly work with women.
okay. So you're
I do my guys that I do personal training with. I have them doing Pilates as well. I have like teams of all guys, like basketball teams with a few girls. So I'm getting more and more men into it, but I'd
okay.
say for the most part, it's still predominantly women who are doing it. And
Okay.
with it be, Joseph Pilates being a man and having designed it for men, somewhere along the line, the message got across that it's for women, and the men kind of vacated the building. So I feel like I want to get it back to men recognizing the value that that has for their body.
Right.
So that's kind of like my message and my passion, and it's similar to what you're doing too, right? Like, I mean, you want women to feel alive. I want men to feel alive. I want them to feel pain free. I want them to have a great body. I want them
Hmm.
to have a body that works for them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's kind of the way I look at it.
Yeah. I think like when you're speaking about that, it kind of made me think about how there's all these like societal roles or expectations or rules that are placed on people,
Yes.
like, oh, you're a girl so you shouldn't do that, or if you're a respectable woman you wouldn't do that, or if you're
Mhm.
a real guy you wouldn't do this, or and I think that really pushes people down, like, to really be able to express themselves. And that's something
Yes.
that I bothers me. There's men that do pole and they love it, and I love that they are fine doing it, because I think it's for everybody. And same like you're talking about Pilates, like think about the things that people miss out enjoying in their life because they think that because they're afraid of what other people will say, or because they think
Yes.
that it's not suitable for them, or the judgment. And it's like, just live your life, just do it. Like my
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
studio was called Live Once, because
Yes.
it was like, you only live once, like just do what you want to do.
How do they break through to that place of just being alive?
I think for some people it's baby steps, like even like with, like, for example, with one of my studios where it was like I had all these fitness classes, so I had spin and the typical workout stuff that you do, and then I also had pole and all the other stuff. So some women would come and start with the fitness stuff and be curious about the other stuff, so they'd come to the showcase and watch the other girls dance and stuff, and then they'd be like, I want to feel that, I want to do that, I want to look like that, like I want to be that too. And then they'd
Yes.
then they'd slowly start, right? And then they try it, and then slowly they learn that really no one in the class is judging them. This is like one thing that I find with a lot of women coming in first. They're so terrified that they're not going to fit in, or they're not going to be good enough, or they're not going to look right, or they're too old,
Mhm.
or they're too young, or they're too big, or they're too small, they're not fit enough. And it's like when they finally step into the room, they realize that none of that, nobody's even caring about any of that. Like,
Right.
everyone belongs. And
Hmm.
so for some people who are very nervous about that kind of stuff, it can be a progression. So maybe they need to just start with a part of maybe the offerings that they feel comfortable with, until they can allow themselves to go there. um,
Hmm.
because sometimes too much is too much all of a sudden, right?
Yes.
Because
Right.
there is a level where women, or like people in general, like once you get comfortable in a certain area, then you really feel free to express yourself. And for someone who's new to it, it might feel like, oh my God,
That's too
it's like,
much.
this is too much. I'm
Yes. Yes.
overwhelmed, right? Like, so yeah, especially for someone who I think lived with a lot of rules and expectations, and very like, you need to be this way. It can be very hard to move past that. So
Yes.
starting small. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's private lessons or with a friend or something, and then kind of goes from there.
Who is your ideal client? Like, someone walks in the door and you're like, yes, I will train you for the rest of my life for free because you're so fun to work with. Like, what does that person look like?
Okay, well, okay, so I was thinking about this because, like, I have two sides. Like, I've got like my fitness side, right? Like
Hmm.
traditional fitness, and then I have my dance and my aerials and all that kind of stuff. So I guess on the fitness side, I really love someone who is super committed and ready to like change. And like, it doesn't have to be weight loss necessarily, but like they want to be better. So I want someone who's looking to get stronger or just feel better about themselves, and they're really committed to the process.
Hmm.
Um, because at the same time, like on the fitness side, my passion has always been group fitness. Like I really love
Yes.
working with groups. And the reason I say that is because I feel like everybody feeds off each other's energy. Whereas like sometimes one on one, there isn't that outside motivation. And it's like,
Yes.
oh, I'm tired, this hurts.
Yes.
Like, but if you're in a class and you're a 20-year-old and you've got, a 50-year-old next to you, just going at it, you're like,
Yeah.
I gotta keep going. And on the aerial pole side, I just love being creative with like routines and things like that. So I love working with competitors. I
Super
like,
strong, super competitive.
they don't even need to be super strong, because like
No?
I'm talking about even just dancers and stuff that want to compete, like you know, when we're doing like the base work stuff, so they don't need to have high level skills, but I love the creative aspect of it and the technical aspect of it, and really like working with someone who's super dedicated to like making it perfect, and wanting to do something really creative. So
Yeah.
that, I love that. Like I could do that all day. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Do you do any workshops or any times where you just step away from the pole or step away from the aerial and just have the conversation around sensuality or around your just that whole piece around being alive, like just accessing that? Like, do you ever kind of step away to actually dig deep with people as to why they're there?
Um, we've had some, like I've done workshops at my studios at times where we have like talked about that kind of stuff, but it's been more of like a holistic type of thing. So it's like one aspect that we discuss, but um, yeah, I haven't actually formally done like just a workshop on only that.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean that would be probably something interesting
I
to
could see,
do.
yeah, I could totally see the value of that because it's like, think about it. If I join a gym, right? If I
Yeah,
go to like a big box gym, you sit down, you have a consultation, and they're like, well, why are you here? And then, the really good trainers who are trying to sell you a package are going to dig deep with that why. Well, why is that important to you? Well, why is that? Well, why is that? So why is that? And they keep asking those whys and they get down to the real why.
right.
Do you have that kind of experience with when you had your studio, even now with your clients, where you really get a solid sense of their why for being in the room?
Yeah, so okay, so that's an interesting thing, because like when it comes to like pole dance, I think a lot of people don't like to really say why they're there. They feel a
Hmm.
little bit embarrassed about it. So
Yeah.
and I talk about this in my courses, because like at the beginning, like I used to run 6 week sessions, and basically at the beginning it was the same girls that would move through the whole thing. So we'd all do introductions, like, you know, what's your name?
Hmm.
Say a little bit about yourself and what made you decide to try pole dancing, right?
Yes.
So, you know, someone would start and be like, you know, hi, I'm Sarah. I'm like 36. I have 3 kids. I just want to feel in shape. That's it, right? But it's
Yes.
like, I know you're here for a different reason. Okay, you
Yes.
just don't want to say it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like the reality is, and this is why I talk to like the girls that want to become instructors about, people say something, but really they're there for a different reason, because we
Hmm.
have things like women feel bad if they don't look sexy when they do the stuff, right?
Yeah.
And it's like you have to try to sometimes pull it back to like an example that they can relate to. Like if you went to a belly dance class or you went to like a salsa class, like do you expect to look like, you know, the professionals on your first day?
Right.
You're not going to, right? So you have to like
Mhm.
be kind to yourself and allow yourself to just be in the moment, and like let it be a process, and like not be so hard on yourself. But like again, talking about like why women are there, not everyone's going to say the real reason they're there.
Yes.
You just kind of know, like,
Yeah, yeah, I know we know, like I know
yeah,
we know, but like I feel like
yeah,
there's part of me that wants to just like, well, until you bring it out,
yeah,
are you really gonna see the change that you want to see?
right. So this is where sometimes like I have workshops, like I'm doing one tonight where it's a lifestyle challenge, right? So everybody has to think about goals that they want to set that have to do with physical goals, mental goals, and nutritional goals. And
Okay.
they can be various, because I'm not about the weight loss challenge, because not everybody wants to or needs to lose weight. That's not
Right.
what this is about. But we can all improve ourselves. And so this is where things like that would come up, because maybe for someone, like a mental goal would be like being kinder to themselves, or allowing them to, or themselves to feel a certain way. And then the
Hmm.
discussions kind of come up surrounding that.
Yes.
Um, and then also in terms of like, I guess with women learning to let go or be okay expressing themselves in a certain way, it definitely is a process, and it's not always like black and
Immediate.
white. And then even discussing around it isn't always easy to just kind of put it out there, like because
Hmm.
not everybody wants to talk about it or address it.
Hmm.
just like that. It's such a, I don't know, it's like, I think if there is a conversation or like a workshop around it, there would definitely be some people who would speak up, but a lot wouldn't. Like, the, I don't know
Yes.
to it. So I think like when talking about like creating like a space that's that pushes people a little bit out of their comfort zone, that's why like you know, studios offer things like showcases. So where
Hmm.
you can sign up to be part of like a troupe where you learn a routine and you perform it in front of people. And for some people, that's a really big step for them to take. Like, you know, they never grew up dancing, they never grew up performing in front of people. So to learn a routine, you know, do the whole nine, like get dressed up and then get up in front of like an audience and perform it is like, can be scary for some people, but also super
Yes.
empowering because they like stepped outside of their comfort zone, like what you're saying, and like did it. And then after they're just like, oh my God, that was like awesome. And I feel so good. Like life isn't that scary. Like just do it. Right. It's kind
Hmm.
of like, um, so so I guess my point is like, if you are like, here, you can do this, or do you want to sign up for that? And like, you know, it allows people to make the decision if they want to kind of step outside. So,
Yes.
and then doing it in a group can feel safe for some people for the first time. So like, they're not ready to just be by themselves on that stage. They need their friends with them, right? So they do the troupe, and then they're like, I kind of like this, so I'm going to try doing my own routine, you know? And then it kind of keeps pushing them. And then those people are like, I'm going to
Yes.
compete, you know? And then,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And they keep moving up the ladder. When people almost water down the message by calling it pole sport or pole fitness, and then you take away an element of it, are there people on the other side that make you cringe when they make it so erotic and so far to the other side too?
No, I don't think so. Like I don't really cringe either way.
Hmm.
I feel that like, and this is why I feel that it should be whatever anybody wants it to be. And I don't,
Fair.
and so, you know, if someone wants to call it pole sport, that's fine. I mean, there are a lot of people in the industry who are really have been very passionate about making it you know, an Olympic sport, and like being very like vocal about this does require great like
Athleticism
dedication and
and
skill, and yeah, and athleticism and
yes.
all that kind of stuff, which it absolutely does. But then I don't want to put down the people who love the other side of it. And I think, I don't know. I just think there's space for everybody here.
Mhm.
And if you don't like something, you don't have to go or look at it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's how I feel about life. Like if you don't like this, don't go. Like if you're not hurting anybody, if you're not hurting anyone, I don't see what the problem is, like to be honest with you.
Right.
So just like live and let live. And and yeah, I just think like I do think that a lot of people are just more comfortable with it being called a sport than, you know, erotic pole or exotic pole. Like some people are very, they're not ready for that, you know, like they
Right.
just haven't, they're inside themselves, they just are not there, which is cool. Then
No, no.
you don't go to those shows, you know, you don't watch those
Yes.
performers. Yeah. So
And so, and you're so much of a trailblazer. I think it wasn't like I understand and I totally respect the fact that people can make it what they say, like whatever they want to make it.
mhm.
But do you feel like it's taking away from the advancement of it and getting more people into it when if someone calls it a stripper fitness class and then you're just trying to get women confident in themselves and they need like, do you understand what I'm saying? Like sometimes people put stuff out and then the wording pushes them away from their destiny in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, possibly. I guess like that's a hard one because, you know,
Hmm.
you're never, at the end of the day, let's just be real here. Like, you know, poles are in strip clubs. So are we ever really going to get past that whole concept? And really, does it matter to get past it? I mean, that's real. There's girls that work and make money dancing on poles. Like, so what? Like, I just think like if people are going to be that judgmental about it, I'm not really concerned about them accepting it, like to be honest with you. Like
Yeah, yeah.
um it's kind of like I just uh, in terms of advancement, I mean, I don't really have an agenda with this. Like I feel that people who see what it is and get it will be a part of it, and the people who don't get it won't, and
Yes.
that's fine, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
right.
so I don't it's growing. um there are lots of people who love it, and I just learned to shut that noise out, and I'm not concerned about the people who are absolutely like obsessed with um, deciding in their head, like they've already made their decision about what it
You
is.
mentioned that about the Olympics because that was the article saying like that's how people thought about skateboarding. Like
Yeah,
skateboarding and getting to like national and world competitions. These are like little thugged out drug kids doing, on a skateboard. That's not a sport. That's not athleticism. That's not expression. That's not creativity.
yeah, it's crazy. But I have to say, talking about skateboarding, like, and this is where I want to talk, I guess, if we can use analogies, not all
Sure.
skateboarders could care less about it being in the Olympics. They just want to go out and
Yeah.
skate. They just want to go and do their thing. They want to enjoy it. They want to do whatever the hell they want. They don't care
Yes.
about the points and the trick and nailing
Right.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's for them, it's like their expression. They go out there and they want to skate and they just want to be with
Mm.
their friends and they want to do crazy stuff, right? And it's the same with
Yes.
pole. Not every single pole dancer cares about the Olympics. Like they just want to dance and move and
Hmm.
feel good, right? So
Yes.
this is where I think like everybody fits in everywhere, and it doesn't have to just be Olympics, Like,
Yes.
yeah.
That's being alive.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah, my friend Delman's on here saying, "Great point, Lisa.
Thank you.
Preach on." Like, this is exactly it, right? Like, you know what the funny thing is too? Joseph Pilates, if you look at any archival videos of him teaching classes,
Hmm.
he taught in Pilates briefs,
Hmm.
just buck naked, but for these tighty whities, the whole
Yeah.
class. I'm not doing that anytime soon.
Funny.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, but I think there's room for everybody in the industry, and I, I just know like from being in it for so long because I opened my first studio in 2006, and just seeing, watching women come in, feeling a certain way about themselves, and then watching it change as time goes on. That is like there's nothing like it. Like it really
so
is.
rewarding, eh?
It is 100%, and it's something I'll never not enjoy.
Yes.
Yeah.